Hey guys, welcome back to another version of Beyond the Press Release. If you love the idea of flight safety, better flight safety through GPS tracking and predictive analytics, you're going to love this interview because Star Navigation Systems made a massive announcement that further solidifies them as a leader in this space. With us is Captain Jonathan Kordick, Executive VP of the company, Harmeet Gill, Senior Director of IR. To understand Star Navigation, before we get to the questions, here's what you need to know. Or did you know that at any given time, 200 to 300 planes can be off the grid when flying and no one knows where they are? That's shocking because in an era which GPS can easily track dogs, trains, and our cars, the world has a right to ask, why are our plane tracking systems not the strongest of all of those? And unfortunately, the Malaysian Air Flight 370 and Air France 447 disasters show the world the weakness in plane monitoring systems and the strong need for a real solution. Enter Star Navigation Systems. The company is a flight sciences company that bridges that gap between flight experience and flight safety in real time. How do they do that? Their technology provides a continuous connection between planes and the ground. And it's more than just tracking. It's real-time aircraft health and engine condition, fuel management, fleet management, and so much more. Now, more than just lip service, they're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk. They've announced an LOI for the purchase of 7 aircraft in Kenya with Brent Global. Astral Aviation purchasing 7 cargo cargo aircraft. That's a $1.2 million deal over the next 5 years. And on. Pinnacle Air, 5 charter jets in India, and a conditional purchase order from Swiss Aviation Group for 9 units for 4 different airlines. That could be as much as $3 million over the next 5 years. But the big announcement, this is what we're going to talk about today. This is massive. They've announced an LOI, letter of intent, with the LAPSSET Corridor Development Authority. What is that? To track trucks, trains, and boats in Eastern Africa's largest infrastructure project that's bringing together Kenya, Ethiopia, and Sudan. It's massive. Guys, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, so before we even get into the details, the headline speaks to the magnitude of this letter of intent. And we want to be clear, it's a letter of intent. So let's break it down. I'll let you guys decide who wants to take this one first. What is the LAPSSET Corridor program? I don't need you to go into all different details, but just give us an idea of the magnitude of this LAPSSET Corridor program.
So I'll take the lead on this just to begin. The fact that I've been longer with Star Navigation and we've been looking forward to something like this for quite a while now, George, and you're quite aware of that. So this LAPSSET Corridor Development Authority that they've done, it started in April 2013. They're building bridges, they're building highways, they're building cities, they're building airports, port areas. They're going to be having 32 given day ships parked there from importing, exporting from various parts of the world. The infrastructure is humongous and it's going to go on to about 2030 and beyond. Okay, so how does Star Navigation fit in this? They need.
Well, hold on, no, I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that because this is so big. I want to do segments here.
Yeah,
otherwise,
I love the excitement. And we're excited too. So
and Captain Jonathan, here's a quote from our CEO Amir, and I want you to just add perspective on this. He said, in order to describe this, he said, this LAPSSET Corridor represents world-class, transformative, and game-changing infrastructure that will deliver massive prosperity to hundreds of millions of people for generations. Star is playing a vital role in the safety, efficiency, and tracking of all modes of transport that'll be moving the people and the goods necessary to make it a success. Yeah. Talk to us about that magnitude in terms of that quote and how correct Amir is on that one.
Well, Amir is very correct. The main points here is what he says. It's safety, efficiency, which really optimization of operations and the tracking of where all these vehicles are, they're being land, marine, or air. So What is the magnitude of this? Well, in a very short summary, and to put it very simply, which our VP of engineering very interestingly brought this to my attention the other day, he said, Jonathan, this is the third revolution. The first revolution was the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s. Then we moved into a computerization communication a revolution. What is next in terms of technological development? And that is data monitoring and tracking. What Star Navigation has been able to design, develop, certify, approve of the various types of systems fit in right across the entire spectrum of land, marine, and air with respect to safe operations, which we know, irrespective if it's a truck or if it's an airplane, safety is always a concern. At the end of the day, everything boils down to profitability, and where is that going to come from for any kind of operator? It will come from optimized performance. Are we operating efficiently? If we don't operate efficiently, then it doesn't really matter what you do.
And Captain, a project of this magnitude, it's going to be a $30 billion project. It's going to add 8 or 10% onto Kenya's GDP. It just doesn't work unless, it'll work, but very sloppily, unless you have technology like Star powering it, right?
That's it. And we are at the cusp of this kind of revolution in terms of tracking and data analysis of where all these three aspects falling within the scope of the capabilities of our systems.
Harmeet, I'm going to switch back to you, not about tech specs, but because you're the longest serving guy here at Star, and I want you to speak to shareholders on this one. How big is this LOI, given the fact that how long you've been with the company, your team has been there, how you guys have been fighting to produce the technology, get the technology out there? How big is this for the shareholders and for the company?
Well, if you look at the press release itself that came out, it's a $29.24 billion US project, right? So if we get a little pie of it, it'll be massive for Star anyway. And the way the discussions are going, and I want to quote back to the LOI, the Director General CEO of this project, at your earliest convenience, is literally telling Star, at your earliest convenience, we look forward to furthering our discussion to enter into purchase agreement with LCDA, which is the LAPSSET Corridor project, for the purchase of Star tracking systems, which will also lay a foundation of strong and positive relations for future engagements. So let's have a look what kind of engagements they can be and what the potentials are here. They have fishing boats, right? They go in the wrong territory, you're not getting them back. So they need to be monitored. There need to be early warning system that'll tell them that they're going into the wrong territory. That's one. Weather overlays, let you know that the weather's getting bad, bring your boat back. And also the system is so strong that we can even tell you where the heavy duty through satellite communication, where the heavy duty fishes are, so you cannot waste time looking for them, but know exactly where to go to fish. That's another thing. Coming to land, you got 32 ports being constructed for importing and exporting these ships coming in. How many trucks do you need to unload them every day? That's why the highways are coming in. So we can't even tell you the number of trucks we'll be installing on, but the potential is massive, okay? Then you got the railway lines. We're going to be tracking the personnel that are going in and out of the trains, making sure that there's nothing on the tracks that can harm the train and the passengers there. So these are the things through satellite communication, through GPS systems. We have the technology to be able to determine that and give you early warning systems so you can overcome any hardships going forward. And that's why when you see Amir's comment there, we're looking at millions of people being transported daily. And that's where Star comes handy, because Africa and those regions are starving for technology. And we have that. We have generally the best technology. And that's why Captain will vouch that as well.
Captain, I stressed at the beginning that this is an LOI. So we got to be cognizant it's a letter of intent, but it's very strong because it follows an expression of interest. So this relationship has been moving along steadily. What is it going to take to move it from LOI now to a definitive agreement? Are there a lot of hurdles in between here, or just standard due diligence? What's it going to take to get over the line to a definitive agreement? I'm not asking for timelines, but just more what has to be done to move this to the next stage.
That's a good question, George. You know, we are across the biggest hurdle here. And the biggest hurdle is does the customer see the benefit of such a system? And how cost effective this system is? Because as I mentioned earlier, you know, if you're cost effective and efficient, then you will have a profitable operation. The customer, as large as it is, I mean, we're talking 3 combined countries here, are in total recognition of the capability of the system. Now it's just a matter of going through the protocols and the processes. And in a respectful way, I will say that it is an agreement with government institutions. And we do know that government processes can take a longer time than dealing with private organizations. So it is difficult, you know, to really make a solid forecast, but we're certainly standing on a solid foundation of where it's not a matter of if the customer is considering should they use this system or not. Hence, we are across the major hurdle, and it's just a matter of executing the agreements with the proper protocols on their side, on our side, to come to the dotted line. We're very positive that this will happen.
And Captain, one more question. Before you came along, you know, Star was really strong on the research and development side, developing the product. The sales and marketing side wasn't as strong. You really beefed that up. Is today's news, or this news came out last week, but is this news proof positive that the system you've kind of implemented, which is start small, you know, I talked about some of the agreements that have been signed since you came on board, that you start a little smaller, get a little bigger, that process officially you can put your stamp of approval on that, and then that's working?
You know, George, it's interesting listening to you. What's coming to my mind, if you recall, when mobile telephones first came out, we used to see some people with a big chunky telephone and put it on the table, and we used to say, oh, what a waste, I don't need that. Until the telephone started getting a little bit smaller and very, you know, economical to carry and efficient, that we used to say, well, you know, I'm only going to get one for emergency purposes, just in case I need it.
On the side of the road. You're right.
You know, look at us today. We can't live without it. Hence, this is the 3rd generation revolution about what these systems do, and we are at the front line. So, you know, it just, physics always has the right patterns. Recognition of what capabilities of systems are not just going to explode overnight. It's going to lead from one to the other. And this is a perfect example of how we came to this potential opportunity of where the operator, the customer, realized that there is something that they really need, of where it's not only going to keep them safer in what they're doing, but now it's going to cut their operating costs and it's going to increase their efficiency. There's nothing like this out there today in the world. Certainly, we do have competition. There are manufacturers, but not to the extent of the capability of what Star Navigation has been able to produce. We've been somewhat quiet about this up to now, but we will not be quiet about this any longer.
Well, you guys came out the bang with this one. Harmeet, how significant is this this LOI with LAPSSET for other countries that are potentially considering the same kind of modern devices? And what's it done to the sales pipeline for Star?
Well, once we became partners with FlightPath, me and Captain started doing presentations together. You remember back in March, we did our first co-presentation on a safety aspect for the aviation industry, and it was a very big success. That's where the Astral Airlines came out and the other airlines that we've been talking, and the LOIs there too. But more importantly, going to Africa for the first time, that time, realized what a big market it is. People, even by talking to some of these government officials, talking to some of these airlines, and obviously now when we're looking at this project, a lot of these people were literally craving for the technology that we got. And then the way Captain put it together right now, when we started presenting, we got that feel from the media, exactly what they're looking for, and we have that solution. And now with this LAPSSET, even a bigger solution, so it's growing. But Africa alone, George, just between me and you, and the investors who are going to be looking at this, it's a big enough market for our generation, our generations to come, and their grandkids, right? Even if we went nowhere else, that's how big this market is. And I got to thank FlightPath there because they've been there for 22 years. They recognized that long time ago. Star is recognizing it, and that's why we're building the sales pipeline very well there. And this project, it's going to be huge. It's going to be massive. I'm looking forward to it. I know Captain is being a bit cautious, and there's no harm in being that. The way our conversations have been going with them, it's progressing really fast, right? And I don't feel it's going to take too long where the market for Star Navigation is going to realize that where it is as we make other announcements, but it's also going to see consistent announcements on sales coming from that part of the world. Me and Captain are already planning our next trips over there. We're planning already, and we'll put a press release out there shortly too. We're going to several other parts of Africa. So we start off with Kenya because our clients wants to see us again. And then we'll be going on to Ghana, Rwanda, Tanzania. So it's an ongoing, right? And now we're
sure, well, you're never going to stop. That's for sure. And on that note, Captain, you know, from the time you came on, Star's really found great success in Africa, India, the Middle East, you know, that region there, because for years before that, I think the company almost, you know, you almost made a mistake by trying to go for the big North American, you know, Western European deals with big major conglomerates, and that you just can't go from 0 to 100. So now that you're doing so well in these regions, and you've got a lot more runway in front of you, pardon the pun. So there's a lot more business to be had. But does this start to get the attention of the North American, Western European, you know, even Asia, you know, bigger airlines, bigger conglomerates out there? Or you're not focused on that yet? You're just focusing on the regions you're focusing on now?
That is a lot of questions, George, but I must say they're all good. So the big thing is we are already in Southeast Asia. The opportunities are there. As Harmeet said, we are on our way back into Africa, from East Africa and on to West Africa, including Nigeria, of where systems such as this, land and marine, gas and oil, it's really where the market is. So again, land, marine, and air capabilities, you know, the expansion, the recognition has been tremendous. And right after this round, we are over to Southeast Asia, between Malaysia, Singapore, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, etc. And all this is in place, set and confirmed for us to attend our own conferences and present our new system to various different operators. We only have so many resources here today. I wish I can say we have the capability to expand and hit every single corner of the world, but that's not the reality.
No, and most companies, by the way, to be fair to Star Navigation, most companies don't have the capability unless you're Google or Tesla, but that's about it.
That's right, you know, but you know, we have to be realist. We can only do within what is within our reach. And you know, these are certain definitive indications that the potential for growth exists. And you know, being in smart businesses, you certainly don't want to bite more than what you can actually chew. So we have to go be smart and recognize that, and not have expectations you know, of crystal balls, and that we will bring the business in consistently and one piece at a time, but certainly not in indefinite, you know, time period. We just have to be systematic, and that's what we have done. And as agreements come in, we certainly will be hiring people and filling in the gaps of where we need them, and that's where, you know, the real growth will come. You know, any kind of commencement of any kind of operation, especially of something that is fairly new with capabilities, it does take some time until it gets the recognition. Again, the mobile telephones of where we are today. We see it the same way with systems like this because, again, they're very, very cost effective. Yeah, certainly this is not something you buy at Canadian Tire, but it has different purposes that the world will not be able to move to the next level in technological development, industrial development, movement of people and goods without such systems as what we have. And we are here at the forefront. Has the Western world have heard about us? We do numerous trade shows and conventions. I'm sure that they have heard of us, they are trying to have similar systems like us. The big giants aerospace companies certainly have the capability, to manufacture components of similar kind. And I will say that today because they're only similar kind, not with the exact capabilities that we have between land, marine.
Wow,
and
that's saying
there's
something.
nothing like that today. And we're certainly not intimidated by them.
By the way, while you're saying all that, I was reminded, ironically enough, by that African proverb, which is, "How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time." So the fact that you're saying, before I go back to Harmeet for last words, Jonathan, I want you to be able to speak to investors for a second, because they've heard Harmeet and the team for a decade. Not that they're tired of them, but I want to be able to give a fresh voice. How confident should Star Navigation shareholders feel in the strength of your technology, in the strength of your value proposition to keep gaining market share for the foreseeable future, just to keep this growth going? How confident should they feel?
They should go buy more shares.
Okay, I wasn't expecting to say that, but that's sometimes less is more. All right, that's fantastic. Harmeet, last word to you. It's almost it's like we're 2/3 of the way through October right now, so we're well into Q4. Are there more things to come? Will we be seeing you and Captain Jonathan back on Agoracom again before the end of the year?
Well, like I said, we're going on a 4 to 5 week trip, which is going to include Singapore, Malaysia, Bangladesh, and the African regions that we had mentioned. And we want to do live recordings with Agoracom from these places, as we do our own aviation safety conferences that we're hosting. And it's getting a lot of traction as well from the airlines. They're excited about seeing us again, and they know that this is big for them. But more importantly, Christmas is coming. We want to make sure that we close it with a bang at the end of the year, and we want to open up with a big bang at the beginning of the year. So, we want to have that celebration with everybody, because we feel strongly that we can certainly do that, especially what Captain just said, right? So, he's also a shareholder. He feels strong about it, and so do I. And I'm just happy from all the money that we've raised for the company, that we can certainly see big smiles on investors. That is very, very important. And certainly on you. It's always good when you got a host like you, George, bringing this interviews with that kind of intensity that you have, and it brings it out of us. But yeah,
well, the shareholders deserve to have strong, smart questions
100%.
asked, because that's probably what they're thinking, as
Yes.
opposed to just making it a cheerleading episode.
More of one, yeah. And with me traveling all over Canada to meet some of these brokers and retaining some of them and talking to them, I'm so glad that they're going to see the fruit that's coming out of Star Navigation, and it's going to make a big impact on the world technology, like Captain had said.
Gentlemen, congratulations, not just to you two, but to the teams behind you, to our CEO Amir, but and the tech team and everybody that's involved, because it's amazing. I have to tell you, when we did work for the company previously, years before, I always just say, hey guys, this is great. We need to start some sales. We need to show some commercial acceptance. And this year, the team plus the big addition of you, Captain Jonathan, have proved that. I mean, LOI after LOI, purchase orders, sales, and now this LOI with LAPSSET has been a real game changer. And I congratulate all you guys. Can't wait to have you back on.
Thank you.
It won't be long, George. We'll be back here.
To everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform. To both Captain Jonathan Corditt and Harmeet Gill of Star Navigation Systems. If you're new to this company because you saw the headline and you want to know more about the company, get to the profile page on Agoracom, because there's a lot going on here in terms of technology and everything that's going on. So we want you to really understand it from a layman's point of view, then hop over to the company's website to do your deep dive due diligence. Thanks for joining us. Have an amazing day. See you next time.
Thank you.
Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and then leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel so you don't ever miss another great Agoracom small cap video.